Okay, hopefully this is already recording. Okay, so today we're gonna try to read along this Amazon Prime because I'm also interested into basically interested in the impact of technology to society and the impact of technology to business, right? Um, and one of the amazing companies we have right now is Amazon. Amazon is like everywhere now these days. So, and this is written by this guy, Trent Griffin. He works with Microsoft, this guy. And he has a blog called um, 25iq.com. Okay. So, Amazon Prime and other subscription businesses. How do you value a subscriber? Uh, Businesses increasingly don't just sell products and services in a single transaction. Subscription and other businesses that focus on recurring sales have existed for a very long time. What is new is that many more businesses have adopted a subscription approach, which makes them look a lot more like a company in the cable television business than auto parts manufacturer. Okay. Um, I think this makes sense in the era of the internet. Why many more businesses are adopting this subscription um, business model. I think because in general, I think if you look at um, the history of our in the U.S., people in the U.S. are becoming, I think, more wealthy, right, over time. Um, Having said that, of course, there's a lot of debates about un, uh, inequality, which is fair, but that's I think it's kind of the consequences of capitalism, right? Uh, I believe the underlying root is like everybody's different. Everybody has their own ideas, their own like belief system, their own goal, their own dream, right? So if everybody's different, just from that point, just the basic facts, everybody's different. And we have this tool called the internet that is basically a tool to scale anything to the world, right? Because once you have an idea, and if you're, especially if you're good with a software, or even if you're not good, if you're just good with people, then you can hire people, a bunch of people who are good in software, and you can turn that idea into a reality, and you can scale that idea on the internet, right? And if that becomes a hit like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Then he becomes like a billionaire like overnight, right? So that creates inequality, right? So it's just I think it's just a natural consequences of being in a capitalist country. So going back to the um, subscription, why it makes sense now? Because again, with this now internet era, everybody is like having the mobile phone, right? And then many companies is creating a lot of value, um, right, to the consumer, and as a result, the consumer also uh, greatly benefited from that, right? Just like before, like the era of Google, like information is a scarce. Now information is abundant. People now get stuck like hours and hours just in front of the screen, right? Because it's just they want just want to look at what's the latest news, what's the want to do a lot of research. Just information is just everywhere. So the consumer greatly benefited that, and as a result, it's also it's kind of like increasing the whole uh, sort of the wealth of the population. Although it becomes increasingly also unequal, but everybody's like moving up, right? So because everybody's like moving up, it means they have more kind of like money in their pocket to spend. So and the nature of the internet is just to scale everything, an idea. So I think it makes sense right now that many companies is just go into subscription because consumer also from their point of view, okay, if it creates a good value like Amazon Prime, like okay, I'll pay $99 a year, I got all of these benefits, okay, I'll just pay it. So I don't have to keep on like thinking about it. I don't have to keep on like, and the value is great, right? The value is like a no-brainer. Like for $100, you get the like Amazon Studios. You can get like 1 day shipping or 2 day shipping. You'll get limited Amazon Music, right? And then you get other probably other perks too. Um, and also, if you look at Netflix too, right? Only $10 a month, but you can also share it with your family, friends, and Netflix also doesn't mind. So who doesn't want to subscribe with a value like that, right? Uh, Before that, people subscribe to cable, they have to pay like $100 a month. Right now, Netflix only $10. So it's like only it's paying like 1/10 of the price and probably is a better value right now. So so it makes sense, right? From the business point of view and from the customer point of view. So that's why subscription now I think um, it's like the business model. Okay, so successfully implementing a subscription business model can be particularly hard since the customer acquisition cost happens upfront and revenue appears over time. These subscription business have a revenue profile that is more like an annuity. This revenue profile is not like the manufacturer business that many people learn about from a college introduction to accounting class. Unlike an annuity, the revenue stream of a subscription business is subject to risks. Um, oh, I have to wait. I have to let me see. Do I have to like how do I um how do I make it bigger this one? I'm not sure how to make it bigger. Okay. Anyway, never mind. Okay. Just continue. You guys gonna listen to me, right? So and it's still viewable. I'll fix this computer glitch. Sorry guys, I didn't realize that happens. Okay, so where was I? Oh, so the good news is that it is precisely because there is a risk, uncertainty, and ignorance that an opportunity for profit exists. The bad news is that it can be hard to capture. The reality is that um, um, you do not capture this profit, your competitors may do so. Okay. Someone may ask, why should I worry about this? Will it be on the test? The answer is yes and yes. Charlie Munger says it best. The number one idea is to view a stock as an ownership of the business and to judge the staying quality of the business in terms of its competitive advantage. Look for more value in terms of discounted future cash flow than you're paying for. Move only when you have an advantage. The text, the text in bold in the Munger statement is critical with a subscription service like Amazon Prime. You cannot understand the value of the business by looking at just 1 month or even a few months since it is lifetime value that matters. Why are these new subscription businesses being created more often? The economics of a subscription business can be very favorable if you get it right. A lot of financial leverage can be generated if the customer does not need to be acquired repeatedly. Customer acquisition cost is lower for a well-run subscription business, even though it is more front-loaded. Yes, subscription business model can have more predictable revenues, but that is not caused by the tooth fairy. More predictable revenues are a byproduct of lower overall CAC and some operational approaches and investment in customer retention. The trade-off is that a subscription business model can also be deadly if you get it wrong. Each of the key variables in the subscription business can be either Many angels working together to build something wonderful. A pack of hungry wolves can tear the business to shreds. Propelling more business to adopt a subscription business model is a simple truth. If your competitors get this model right, your business may be doomed. The benefit of this new way of doing business was chronicled well in the book of The Outsiders by Thorndike. One of the major innovators of this way of doing business was John Malone in the cable television industry. Here is John Malone talking about the model he used to build many of his businesses. We decided to go on a cash flow metric very much like real estate. Levered cash flow growth become the mantra out here. A number of our eastern competitors early on were still large industrial companies, um, Westinghouse, GE, and they were on earnings metric. It became obvious to us that if you were going to be measured on earnings, it would be real tough to stay in the cable industry and grow. I used to say in the cable industry that if your interest rate was lower than your growth rate, your present value is infinite. Mm, okay, wait. I used to say in the cable, if your interest rate was lower than your growth rate, your present value is infinite. Oh, wow. Your interest rate lower than your growth rate. Okay. Which means your business is growing rapidly because your growth rate is higher than the interest rate, right? That means you make a lot of money, kind of. That's why the cable industry created so many rich guys. It was the combination of tax sheltered cash flow growth that was in effect growing faster than the interest rate under which you could borrow money. Tax sheltered cash flow growth growing faster than the interest rate. If you do any arithmetic at all, the present value calculation tends toward infinity under the thesis. It's not about earnings, it's about wealth creation and levered cash flow growth. Tell them you don't care about earnings. The first thing you do is make sure you have enough juice to survive and you don't have any credit issues that are going to bite you in the near term. And uh, sorry, I lost my train of thoughts. And that you have thought about how you manage your way through those issues. I used to go to shareholder meeting and someone would ask about earnings, and I'd say, I think you are in the wrong meetings. That's the wrong metric. In fact, in the cable industry, if you start generating earnings, that means you have stopped growing, and the government is not participating in what otherwise should be your growth metric. Hmm. Okay. So how do you measure if you don't care about earning? If you don't like, that's not the metrics, right? But because when you want to measure the growth, because over here it says if your interest rate is lower than the growth, that means you have an infinite net present value, right? Um, okay, so anyway, let's move on. The more you understand about what John Malone has accomplished in his business, the more you will understand what companies like Amazon are doing in their business. To help entrepreneurs, shareholders, and lenders understand whether a given business is generating what Charlie Munger called more value in terms of discounted future cash flow than it is paying for. It is more than useful to calculate what is known as unit economics. I've written a post before about unit economics, but in this blog post I focus more on example. Bill Gurley sets the states. Understanding the actual unit economics in the underlying business requires analyzing the true contribution margin of the business, not simply looking at gross or net revenue and the proper contra revenue treatment and not even looking at just many companies embed cost data through. If you want to know if the business model truly hunts, you must be careful. Otherwise, you may have simply found a company that's simply selling dollars for 85. These five factors determine the unit economic of business. A customer acquisition cost, CAC, average revenue per user, a gross margin, a customer lifetime, which is function of customer retention slash churn, a discount rate. Let's work through a key sensitivity using a fictional example. Imagine there is a business with the name Green Oven that delivers the food components for cooking meals along with recipes. Assume Green Oven unit economics look like this. So Green Oven delivers food components for cooking meals along with the recipes. Food Legos for adult. Interesting. Average revenue per user 110. Gross margin 33%. Monthly customer churn 18. Customer acquisition costs, oh wow, $450, discounted 10%. The lifetime value of a Green Oven customer would look like this. 450. Average revenue 110. Cost of goods sold per month. The net present value is negative. Okay. Because the customer acquisition cost is so high. Um, the average revenue per month is 110. Gross margin 33%, churn 18%, annual discounted 10%. Cost of goods sold per month. I don't understand why is this $73. Where is this came from? Hmm? I have no idea. But anyway, the net present value is negative. That's a number above obviously produce an ugly lifetime value. What would happen to Green Oven's unit economic if the rate of a customer churn could be reduced to 7% a month? Making this comparison often calls and reveals that retention is an important factor for Green Oven. Okay, another important, yeah, because the um, the customer acquisition cost is so high, right? 450. Yeah. So you need to retain your customer. I think what's included in the customer acquisition cost is like the advertising, right? The I don't know what's included there. Like advertising, probably you hire people to like I don't know to stock the potential customer. Like use algorithm like to stock them, whatever. Basically, whatever method to acquire the customer, right? That's my way of thinking. Is uh, the easiest would be through advertisement, right? Through marketing, through sales too. Yeah, you employing salespeople. So if you reduce the CAC, the number look like this. Yeah, okay. It is useful to play around with a lifetime value spreadsheet and do numerous sensitivity runs to get a feel for how the variables interact in a given business. In this case, the Green Oven, the high CAC makes high churn a potential business killer. The Green Oven needs to be laser focused on reducing CAC, so it can better handle churn. Okay, high churn, 10%. This is also what 7%. Okay. What is churn? Churn is the number of people who like go out, like the customer who um, came out, who yeah, who move out. Yeah, okay. The amount of customers ever who cut ties with your service. Okay. Yeah, it's the opposite of retention. Correct. Okay. Let's go back to the block. Where's the block? Okay. Okay, this started to make sense, right? So because first you have to reduce the either the CSC, or you can reduce the churn rate, right? Or you can play with these two variables, right? Since the customer acquisition cost is really expensive, so you want to reduce. If you just reduce the churn rate by you know from here like from 18% to 7%, you already have a positive um, uh, net present value or positive IRR, right? Um, and if you if you can do that, and yeah, you can double down also on reducing on the customer acquisition costs, you can also uh, dramatically kind of make the net present value like spikes up and the IRR spikes up, right? Okay, so this makes sense, right? So okay, so when a business rep reports an input into lifetime value like CAC or churn, it is often an average. That may hide the fact that there are big differences in the analysis by cohort. A cohort is a collection of customers who share an attribute of set or set of attributes. For example, one type of cohort is is those customers who subscribe to a service in a given month. Managing customer lifetime value for business isn't simple as debit scorecards. If you are an early stage SaaS startup, software as a service, I think. I need to stop this one first.